skies. Her tears are welled up and falls like rain. I feel like I can't. I would say the biggest difference would be that in places like, just East Coast in general, West Virginia, Nashville, Charlotte, North Carolina, or Pittsburgh, or any of those cities, is that people tend to be more about the entertainment aspect, and maybe less about the music or the artist's vision. I found in Seattle and even in Portland, people tend to be more about the artistic vision of the artist. I always felt that, on the East Coast or the Southeast and the South, I kind of got the impression that people were always trying to make it, so to speak, to be more mainstream. And I think that, in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in Seattle, you have people who are being more artistic, true to themselves, with not much, if any, compromise. So it's a difference of art versus performance. And not to say that the music in Seattle is boring, because people are energetic and entertaining, but it doesn't seem as contrived, I think, especially when you go to a city like Nashville, Music City, USA, and where everyone there, it would almost remind one of Los Angeles in the 1980s. It's where at every bus station there's loads of, the next big star, and it's different than I found it, living in Seattle, where people want to get their music heard, and they have their statement they want to make. So I think that's the big difference. I would almost have to say that the people in the Seattle area tend to be a little bit more professional in terms of getting their promoting themselves. They don't get up on stage in a pair of sweatpants, a fanny pack, and Oakley blades with a baseball hat turned around. I haven't even seen it anyway. So it's a breath of fresh air. I've lived in Seattle for about 7 years now, and I lived in Portland for about 6. And both cities are similar, although I will say that in Seattle the artistic part tends to be more focus on that. Like, more artists, are adamant about getting their vision heard, at all costs. If that means that they don't hit as many people, with their music. They're more concerned with quality, not quantity.
Okay, cool.
I do think that. I know that when in a particular genre or a groups of genre that get categorized into a quote unquote scene, you do have a loyal group of fans and clubs. There are certain clubs that only want a certain type of music. Some might call it Roots Americana, or it might be a rock bar. And you can count on those bars or venues or club, whatever that might be, that they're going to support certain types of music only. You would hear everything from specific periods. So you might hear someone doing Elvis Presley, and then you might hear someone doing the Rolling Stones, more the early Rolling Stones. Anything in that wide spectrum, but they're all kind of in a specific period before music changed. And on the opposite of that, you'll have clubs that typically only play bands that have sounds and roots from 80s to the present. I think there's a dividing line there. And the fans are very integral to that. I mean, and it's very community based. My experiences have primarily been in the country, honky tonk, folk, bluegrass, rockabilly, early rock and roll, like pre-Beatles rock and roll. I've been primarily my experience, although I have worked with different bands, like in the R&B and the blues, and they all have their scene or their subculture, and and it is community based. It's not always harmonious. I mean, they're like anytime you have a group of people, whether it's your job or school or your church, I mean, there's going to be drama and there's going to be people who don't get along. I've learned over the years that's just the way it is. I think we might tend to glamorize the past as saying that, oh man, I wish we could have been back here because it would have been much smoother. And I think that if we were able to go back there, we'd find that there were the same, same dysfunction.
I'm a new boy, you can see it in my eyes. I'm a new boy, blue as the eastern skies. My tears all welled up and falls like rain. I feel like I can't take the pain. I'm a blue boy.